I'm here with Phil. Phil is the son of Elwood that we were talking with, and Phil is going to tell you all about the environmental aspects of Quinn Farms.
We strongly believe in integrated pest management. We're not organic here. We will use chemical pesticides as a last resort. There are thousands and thousands of products to choose from the most benign to quite toxic, and we try to stay on the more benign side, but still we need to have some kind of an effect to protect our crops. The most significant reduction in pesticides is in our orchard. Just by knowing your pests, knowing how they live, knowing what their predators are, and knowing their most vulnerable state in life, we can control them much easier and without so much of an impact on the environment. One thing we've done is we leave the grass fairly long. We've cut the grass here about a week and a half ago, just getting ready for harvest. We're going to be cutting it one more time just before harvest. If you were here before that, it's a hayfield. It's long grass. We're leaving habitat for beneficial insects, and we're leaving a more diverse choice of food for our nasty insects. If it's a golf course and you've got apple trees in there, if the grass is really short, there's nothing but apples to eat. So if we've got clover, we've got bird's foot trefoil, we've got alfalfa growing in here, we've got all kinds of grasses, and that's we no longer spray for spider mites, no longer spray for aphids. Those are two. There's several different kinds of aphids and a few different kinds of spider mites. Spider mites are extremely hard to control if you're using chemical pesticides. Turns out we don't need to use anything on them. There are natural predators, different kinds of mites that live in the long grass, and it will take care of our pests.
It's very innovative for you guys. And
yeah. We work with a crop specialist, Monsieur Roland Joannin. He's the apple guru here in Quebec, and very forward thinking, outside of the box when it comes to even trimming and pruning our apple trees. We're doing it entirely different than the old school way of doing it. We also do, right over here, if we take a look up top, we'll try and unhook one for you. This here is a little pheromone. Every second tree throughout the orchard has one of these little things hanging on it. Doesn't smell like much to us.
right.
This is a pheromone for the codling moth, female pheromone. So the males are going wild trying to mate with this little piece of plastic instead of going after the females. If the females aren't bred, they're not laying eggs. If they're not laying eggs, we don't need to spray for them.
Excellent.
Yay! We didn't have to spray at all for the codling moth this year as a result of using these. Very expensive. Every second tree has one.
Wow.
And we also keep an eye on all of our pests using these little pheromone traps, the exact same pheromone. If you take a look up here, a little piece of plastic, that's a pheromone. Nothing in there, so that's good. So
I'm watching a magic trick. Nothing in there.
So this one here would be for the caps, the codling moth, tordeurs à bande oblique, or the oblique banded leaf roller. Ooh, a pile of them in there.
Oh wow.
Not good. Still a little bit alive. This time of year though, we're near the end of the season. Doesn't matter anymore. We're not looking at that anymore. Any of the products we'd use to control that, the pre-harvest interval is too short. We cannot use anything anymore. And the season's over, so why bother trying to protect for these? Earlier on in the season, it's extremely important to keep an eye on them. This one here, the apple, this is a fake apple that we put sticky stuff on. It's covered in all kinds of stuff there now. That's for the apple fly maggot. The apple fly is really attracted to large red apples early on in the season. So we'll put a large red apple in early in the season while these are still small and green. Right. And they'll get stuck to that apple, and we can monitor the effects. The effects. No, the population. We monitor the population through the orchard. And if it's below a certain threshold, we won't intervene. If it's above a certain threshold, we're going to start to lose crop, and we're going to have to treat.
You sell these commercially as well? Or?
Nope, everything is done at retail. Retail is king, wholesale is for the birds. If you've got any kind of payments, if you've paid market value for your farm, you've got big payments, forget it. Wholesale, you can't make ends meet, forget it. It's a sad state for our industry. It's the way it is.
Your apples are gorgeous.
Thank you. Well, a few of them here and there.
Oh yeah.
That's hail damage, and sometimes you'll have something looking like that. That's a physical scar on it there. That's hail damage. Usually up top on the tree. There's a few of them up there. And this season being so dry, the crows and other birds have gone up on the top of the trees and pecked at the apples early on to get a source of water.
Oh wow. They use it for water.
Yep.
Wow.
Because it is so dry. Same thing in our pumpkins. We'll have deer damage on our pumpkins. Whenever the pumpkin is green and lush like a zucchini would be, the same kind of texture as a zucchini, the deer will go in there and paw them open and eat them for a source of water.
Oh wow. I mean, such an educational trip today. I'm learning so much.
If we look over here, this here was sweet corn. This was our first field of sweet corn, and we do what's called cover crops to try and keep something growing on the field at all times. That corn was harvested last week in July, and from July through to frost, through to October, November, that's a very, very long time for your soil to be sitting barren. If it sits barren, the soil ecology will just die or diminish, and that's not good. You want it to stay alive and vibrant. You want something growing in there, the flora and fauna that is in your soil, all the bugs, all the fungi, it's got to stay alive.
Wow, this is really amazing. I'm learning so much.
Same thing in our later sweet corn. Our last cultivating, we use a whole lot less herbicides than we used to.
Okay.
We do a lot of cultivating. That's an organic way of taking care of the weeds. And our last cultivating, we'll go in there and take those weeds away, but we've also got a broadcast spreader on the top of that cultivator putting out clover. And the clover this time of year, whenever the canopy of the corn starts to die back, that clover is growing and it'll stay there as a cover crop all winter long.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. You're increasing organic matter, you're keeping that flora and fauna alive, and you're having a cover crop there to prevent wind erosion and water erosion as well.
I also read that you did a lot of stuff that's innovative with the watering of your crops.
Yes, if we go back to the orchard here. It's all trickle irrigation. These little tubes here have little emitters every 30 centimeters, and it's called trickle irrigation. If we put the water on here, it'll just drip, drip, drip all day long. It'll drip, and we're not putting the water out with those big sprinklers and wasting. We're not watering the alleys where the grass is growing. We're putting the water exactly where we need it. That way we use a whole lot less.
That's fantastic.
This summer was the driest on record for us. We've never ever seen anything this dry. So every bit of water we could save was absolutely important to us.
That's amazing. The
only time we'll use overhead sprinklers is to protect for frost early on in the spring, mostly in our strawberries, sometimes in the orchard. We'll go out there, and if they're calling for frost at night, we'll turn the sprinklers on to keep everything warm.
So you do apples, you do asparagus, you do Christmas trees, you do honey.
All kinds of vegetables as well. We do pumpkins, squash, sweet corn, raspberries, blueberries. We're very, very diversified. We're doing maple syrup early on in the season.
And the favorite season for everyone to come is apple picking, or you have it all year round?
Our biggest season would be apple. The next couple of weekends here, late September through early October, that is just insane how our attendance just skyrockets. Last weekend was about 7,800 visitors.
Wow,
Saturday,
that's amazing.
Sunday.
And how do you control the way they pull the apples off so that they don't?
We have a greeter. We have a greeter meet them in the field. As soon as they come off the wagon, we'll tell them what varieties we have, what they're good for, and how they pick, and how they go about their day. Yeah.
So, being in the scale industry, I want to ask you, how do you in the field use a scale to weigh your product?
In our pumpkin patch, it's all done by weight. It's hard to judge the price of a pumpkin by size, and whereas the weight, it's set and it's easy, and that's clear what the price will be. Same thing with the pumpkins and squash. 35 cents a pound on the pumpkins, a buck a pound on the squash, and we'll have 3-4 scales lined up every weekend under a tent, and it's all taken care of in the field. No more lineups at the buildings. Tills, ATM, not ATM, the debit credit is all taken care of in the field. Let's do this one, I think. Up towards the sky. It'll pop off real easy.
Now that's what a real apple tastes like. Oh my God.
So, welcome to the pumpkin and squash patch.
Is it Charlie Brown?
Squash on this side here. You'll see they're all mixed up. This is the way we like to do it when we're doing U-pick. All of this field, the entire thing, we've got about 3.5 hectare in this field. It's a lot of pumpkins. We've got another field, the exact same thing over a little bit farther. Yes, we plant them all mixed up so that way when folks are meandering through the field, they've got a selection in front of them. They can choose whatever they want. At the outskirts of the field where we let folks off the wagons, we'll have a huge banner with all the different varieties and all what they're good for, what their traits are, characteristics. This one here is a sweet mama. We've also got some butternut. That one there is called Lady Godiva. You know Lady Godiva story?
Yep.
Okay. The seeds, yeah, the seeds on the inside of that pumpkin are naked.
Oh wow.
There's no shell on them. So they're a whole lot more fun for roasting. It's a pretty funky looking pumpkin too. Funky looking pumpkin, you can decorate it, but the seeds inside keep them for roasting. They'll be naked. Butternut, look at the size of this bugger.
That's a nice butternut squash.
Beauty. Feel the weight of that.
Oh wow.
How much did that weigh, Miss Kilotech?
Oh! I'm not sure.
That's,
maybe we need a scale.
7 or 8 pounds. Yeah. We got some acorn, we've got some blue Hubbard, we've got some gallows de Sin. Where's the gallows? Right over there, the pink ones with the warts on them.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's that green one next to it?
That is called Triamble or Queensland Blue.
Wow. What
Pretty
do you
nice
cook with
stuff.
that?
Queensland Blue, you can use that for making soup, you can use it for making the pumpkin pie. And here's some more of our drip tape. Every row, every 60 inches, all the way across the field here, the whole length of the field is drip tape like that on the row. It's not as, you'll see that compared to the one in the orchard, this one here is a whole lot lighter and flimsier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing we do here is apply compost through all of our pumpkin patch. You'll see on the ground there's a layer of compost. Early season, probably last week in June, mid to late June,
Yep.
We'll go over top of each row with our manure spreaders and spread a good thick coat of compost on here. There's about 4 tons of compost on every row.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And the compost it's all natural to Quinn Farms? Is it all
Some of it
natural?
is, but we get a pile of stuff in from local municipalities, wood chips from Hydro-Quebec crews whenever they're cleaning the power lines.
Oh wow.
They'll dump the wood chips at our place when they're working close by. We've got a bunch of landscapers dumping grass here as well, and we'll
that's
make a huge
fantastic.
pile of that out of that, ferment it, and put it out onto our fields.
That's fantastic. That's really giving back to the earth.
Every year we do about 500-600 tons of